If you are watching this, you probably care deeply about your brain health and your future. The truth is, many of us worry about memory loss and cognitive decline as we get older. But what if I told you that there is real, credible research showing that certain daily habits can meaningfully support your brain health and may be linked to lower dementia risk? That is exactly what we are going to explore together today. The concern is real. Dementia affects millions of people worldwide, and many of us have watched loved ones struggle with memory loss and cognitive changes. It is one of our most genuine fears about aging. But here is what matters most. Research increasingly shows that our daily choices, the things we do every single day, can have a profound impact on how our brains age. We are not talking about cures or guarantees, but rather about evidence-based lifestyle factors that are linked to better brain health and lower risk of cognitive decline. The science is becoming clearer each year, and the habits we are going to discuss are within your control, starting today. Before we dive into the specific habits, it is important to understand that brain health is not something that happens by accident. Our brains are living, dynamic organs that respond to what we do, what we eat, how we move, and how we think. Just like we can strengthen our muscles through exercise or improve our cardiovascular health through movement and nutrition, we can actively support our brain health through intentional daily choices. This is not about complicated medical interventions or expensive treatments. This is about understanding the science and then applying it to your life in practical, sustainable ways. Now let us talk about what dementia actually is and why it matters. Dementia is not a normal part of aging. It is a general term for decline in cognitive abilities severe enough to interfere with daily life. Memory loss is often the first sign people notice, but dementia can also affect thinking speed, the ability to focus, language, and judgment. Alzheimer's disease is the most common cause of dementia, accounting for 60 to 80% of dementia cases. Vascular dementia, which happens when blood flow to the brain is reduced, is the second most common. There are also other types like Lewy body dementia and frontotemporal dementia. What many people do not realize is that the changes that lead to dementia often begin decades before symptoms appear. In Alzheimer's disease, for example, protein buildup in the brain can start accumulating in your 40s or 50s, long before you notice any memory problems. This is actually really encouraging news, because it means we have a long window of opportunity to support our brain health and potentially influence how our brains age. The habits we start today can have an impact on our cognitive health years and even decades down the road. So why does dementia happen? What actually causes these changes in the brain? Research suggests multiple factors are involved. Genetic factors play a role. If you have a family history of dementia, your risk is higher. However, genetics is not destiny. Lifestyle factors have been shown to modify even genetic risk. The buildup of proteins like amyloid beta and tau in the brain is associated with Alzheimer's disease. Chronic inflammation in the brain, oxidative stress, cardiovascular problems, diabetes, obesity, and years of poor sleep are all linked to increased dementia risk. Cognitive decline is also associated with social isolation, depression, and lack of mental stimulation. Additionally, head injuries, particularly traumatic brain injuries, are linked to increased long-term dementia risk. The encouraging news is that many of these risk factors are modifiable. You cannot change your genes, but you can influence how those genes are expressed. You can address cardiovascular health, blood sugar control, inflammation, sleep quality, cognitive engagement, social connection, and mental health. These are the levers you can pull. This is where your power lies. Let us now talk about the specific habits that research links to lower dementia risk, starting with aerobic exercise. This is probably one of the most powerful and well-studied protective factors for brain health. When you exercise aerobically, your heart pumps more blood to your brain. You increase oxygen and nutrient delivery. You trigger the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF, which is sometimes called fertilizer for the brain. BDNF helps grow new brain cells and strengthens existing connections between neurons. Research from major studies shows that people who exercise regularly have larger hippocampi, the part of the brain critical for memory formation. Additionally, aerobic exercise reduces inflammation throughout the brain, lowers amyloid beta buildup, improves cardiovascular health, which means better blood flow to the brain, and supports healthy blood sugar control. Studies suggest that people who engage in regular aerobic exercise have a significantly lower risk of cognitive decline and dementia. How much exercise do we need? Research suggests that 150 minutes of moderate-intensity aerobic exercise per week is associated with better brain health. That breaks down to about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Moderate intensity means your heart rate is elevated, you are breathing harder, but you can still carry on a conversation. Walking briskly, swimming, cycling, dancing, or jogging all count. If you cannot do 30 minutes at once, studies show that breaking it into shorter bouts, like 3 10-minute sessions throughout the day, provides similar benefits. The key is consistency and making it something you actually enjoy doing, because the exercise you will stick with is the one that works best. Now let us talk about strength training and resistance exercise. While aerobic exercise is crucial, strength training offers unique benefits for the brain. Resistance training, whether with weights, resistance bands, or bodyweight exercises, has been shown to improve cognitive function, slow cognitive decline, and reduce dementia risk. When you do strength training, you activate multiple muscle groups and challenge your neuromuscular system. This triggers adaptations in the brain. Additionally, maintaining muscle mass as we age is protective. Muscle is metabolically active tissue that helps regulate blood sugar and supports cardiovascular health. People with greater muscle mass tend to have lower dementia risk. Research suggests that 2 sessions of strength training per week, targeting major muscle groups, contributes to better brain health. This might include exercises like squats, pushing movements, pulling movements, and core work. Beyond movement, let us explore nutrition and how what we eat affects our brain. The Mediterranean diet and the DASH diet, both of which emphasize vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, fish, nuts, and healthy oils, have been extensively studied. Research indicates that people who follow these dietary patterns have better cognitive function and lower dementia risk compared to those eating typical Western diets high in processed foods, added sugars, and unhealthy fats. Specifically, certain foods stand out for brain health. Leafy green vegetables like spinach, kale, and collard greens are rich in antioxidants and anti-inflammatory compounds. Blueberries, because of their high anthocyanin content, have been studied extensively for cognitive benefits. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are rich in omega-3 fatty acids, particularly EPA and DHA, which are structural components of brain tissue. Nuts and seeds provide healthy fats, vitamin E, and other compounds that support neuronal health. Olive oil contains polyphenols with anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Berries, beets, dark chocolate in moderation, turmeric with black pepper, and coffee or tea all have research linking them to better cognitive outcomes. What you avoid also matters. Research suggests that high intakes of added sugars are associated with cognitive decline. Refined carbohydrates that spike blood sugar are linked to inflammation and may contribute to brain aging. Excess saturated and trans fats may increase inflammation and amyloid beta accumulation. Ultra-processed foods often contain ingredients that may promote inflammation. This does not mean you must eat perfectly. It means that the overall pattern of your diet matters more than any single meal or food. Small, consistent improvements in your eating habits accumulate over time. Sleep is another cornerstone of brain health that cannot be overstated. During sleep, your brain engages in critical maintenance work. The glymphatic system, which is your brain's waste clearance system, becomes much more active during sleep, clearing out accumulated proteins, metabolic waste, and toxins that build up during waking hours. Amyloid beta, the protein associated with Alzheimer's disease, is particularly well cleared during sleep. People who consistently get inadequate sleep have higher amyloid beta buildup and higher dementia risk. Additionally, sleep is when memory consolidation happens. During sleep, experiences and information from the day are transferred from short-term to long-term memory storage. How much sleep do you need? Research suggests that most adults benefit from 7 to 9 hours per night. Quality matters as much as quantity. This means you should aim for deep, uninterrupted sleep. Some practical habits to support better sleep include maintaining a consistent sleep schedule, keeping your bedroom cool and dark, avoiding screens for an hour before bed, avoiding caffeine in the late afternoon, limiting alcohol, and getting natural light exposure in the morning, which helps regulate your circadian rhythm. If you struggle with sleep, talking with your doctor is worthwhile, because conditions like sleep apnea, which reduces oxygen delivery to the brain, are increasingly recognized as dementia risk factors. Cognitive engagement and mental stimulation are important too. Your brain is like a muscle in some ways. When you challenge it with new learning, problem solving, and novel activities, you build cognitive reserve. Cognitive reserve is essentially the brain's resilience and ability to compensate for damage or decline. People with greater cognitive reserve, often because they engaged in lifelong learning, experienced less cognitive decline even when brain pathology was present. Learning something new, whether it is a language, a musical instrument, a craft, or an intellectual pursuit, engages your brain in ways that routine activities do not. Puzzles, reading, writing, engaging conversations, and teaching others all support cognitive health. The key is that the activity should be challenging and novel, not something you do on autopilot. Social connection is profoundly protective for brain health. Loneliness and social isolation are risk factors for cognitive decline and dementia. Conversely, people with strong social networks and regular meaningful social interaction have better cognitive outcomes. When you engage in conversation, you are exercising language centers, memory, attention, and emotional processing. Social engagement reduces stress, supports emotional health, and may reduce inflammation. Meaningful relationships give people a sense of purpose. Purpose itself is linked to better brain health and longevity. This might mean regular contact with family and friends, joining clubs or groups with shared interests, volunteering in your community, or participating in faith communities. The depth and meaning of social connection matters more than the number of contacts. Cardiovascular health directly impacts brain health. Your brain receives about 15% of your cardiac output, meaning your heart's ability to pump blood effectively directly affects brain health. High blood pressure damages blood vessels in the brain and increases vascular dementia risk. Cardiovascular disease and atherosclerosis reduce blood flow to the brain. High cholesterol contributes to arterial buildup. Atrial fibrillation, an irregular heart rhythm, is associated with higher stroke risk and dementia risk. Diabetes, which often accompanies cardiovascular disease, is associated with cognitive decline. What this means practically is that protecting your heart protects your brain. Maintaining a healthy weight, keeping blood pressure and cholesterol in healthy ranges, managing blood sugar, staying physically active, eating a heart-healthy diet, managing stress, and getting adequate sleep all support cardiovascular health and therefore brain health. If you have been diagnosed with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or diabetes, working with your healthcare provider to manage these conditions is one of the most important things you can do for your brain. Stress management and emotional health deserve attention too. Chronic psychological stress elevates cortisol, the stress hormone. Elevated cortisol over years can damage the hippocampus and other brain regions important for memory. Chronic stress increases inflammation throughout the body and brain. Depression is associated with cognitive decline and increased dementia risk. Anxiety also impacts brain health. Conversely, practices that reduce stress and support emotional well-being are protective. These include meditation or mindfulness, deep breathing exercises, time in nature, engaging in activities you enjoy, maintaining social connections, getting adequate sleep, and exercising regularly. If you struggle with depression or anxiety, seeking professional help is absolutely worthwhile. These conditions are treatable, and treatment supports both mental health and brain health. Now let us talk about some common mistakes people make when trying to support their brain health. One big mistake is thinking that brain games or specific cognitive training apps are sufficient. While these games might be fun and provide some cognitive stimulation, they do not substitute for the broader lifestyle factors we have discussed. Brain games alone, without the foundation of exercise, sleep, nutrition, social connection, and cardiovascular health, do not produce the cognitive benefits that comprehensive lifestyle changes do. Another mistake is thinking that you need to be perfect. People often hear about brain health and think they must completely overhaul their lives overnight. This leads to burnout and abandonment of efforts. The research actually supports incremental change. Small, consistent improvements accumulate over months and years. If you do not exercise, starting with 15 minutes of walking 3 times a week is a great beginning. If your diet is high in processed foods, adding more vegetables does not require eliminating everything else immediately. If you are isolated, reaching out to one person or joining one group is a meaningful start. Consistency matters more than perfection. Another common mistake is neglecting preventative measures because you have not been diagnosed with cognitive problems. Many people think, I do not have memory problems now, so brain health is not urgent. This is the opposite of how dementia actually works. The changes that lead to dementia occur silently over decades. By the time symptoms appear, significant brain changes have already occurred. This is why preventative measures matter so much. The habits you build in your 40s, 50s, and 60s have a real impact on your cognitive health in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Some people also make the mistake of relying on supplements as a substitute for lifestyle changes. While certain supplements have some research support, like omega-3s for people not getting enough from food or vitamin D for people with deficiency, the evidence for most brain supplements is modest. Spending money on supplements while neglecting exercise, sleep, and social connection is not an effective strategy. The foundational habits are exercise, good nutrition, quality sleep, social connection, and cognitive engagement. Supplements may play a supporting role, but they are not a replacement for these fundamentals. Another mistake is assuming that if cognitive decline runs in your family, there is nothing you can do. While genetics does influence dementia risk, lifestyle factors significantly modify genetic risk. People with genetic predisposition who maintain healthy habits have substantially lower risk than those who do not. Conversely, people without genetic risk who have unhealthy habits have higher risk. This shows that you have meaningful agency in protecting your brain health regardless of your family history. Let us address some common myths and clarify what the research actually shows. Myth number 1 is that you cannot build new brain cells as an adult. This is false. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and form new neural connections, continues throughout life. Even in older age, your brain can generate new neurons, particularly in the hippocampus. While the rate of neurogenesis slows with age, it can be stimulated by exercise, learning, and cognitive engagement. You absolutely can continue to grow and change your brain even as you age. Myth number 2 is that memory loss is an inevitable part of getting older. While some slowing of processing speed and retrieval time is normal with aging, significant memory loss is not normal. Mild cognitive impairment and dementia are pathological conditions, not inevitable aging. Healthy older adults can maintain sharp memories and cognitive function. The habits we have discussed support this healthy cognitive aging. Myth number 3 is that Alzheimer's disease is purely genetic and there is nothing you can do about it. While the apolipoprotein E4 gene, or APO4, is a risk factor for Alzheimer's disease, it is not deterministic. Many people with this gene never develop Alzheimer's disease. Conversely, people without this gene can develop it. Lifestyle factors significantly influence risk even in people with genetic predisposition. The research on lifestyle modification shows meaningful risk reduction. Myth number 4 is that once cognitive decline starts, you cannot do anything about it. While preventing decline is more effective than trying to reverse established dementia, research shows that lifestyle modifications can slow cognitive decline and improve quality of life even in people with mild cognitive impairment. Early intervention is crucial. Myth number 5 is that you need to spend hours at the gym to get brain benefits. While consistent exercise is important, studies show that moderate amounts of aerobic activity, like walking for 30 minutes most days, significantly support brain health. You do not need to become an athlete to get cognitive benefits. Consistency and regularity matter more than intensity. Now let us talk about how to actually implement these habits into your life. The most successful approach is not trying to change everything at once, but rather building one habit at a time, letting it become automatic, and then adding another. You might start with movement. If you currently exercise little, begin with 3 20-minute walks per week. Walk at a pace where you feel your heart working but can still talk. Choose a time that fits your schedule and stick to it. After 2 to 3 weeks, this becomes easier and more automatic. Once walking is established, you might add strength training. Choose 2 days per week where you do simple strength work. This might be bodyweight exercises at home, like squats, push-ups, and lunges. Or it might be working with a trainer at a gym. The specific exercise matters less than consistency. For nutrition, rather than overhauling your diet, pick one area to improve. You might decide to add a serving of leafy greens to lunch each day. Or you might replace one sugary drink per day with water. Or you might add berries to your breakfast. These small changes accumulate. For sleep, if you are currently sleeping poorly, pick one sleep habit to improve. You might decide to set a consistent bedtime and wake time, even on weekends. Or you might eliminate screens from the bedroom. Or you might stop caffeine after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Again, one change at a time. For social connection, if you have been isolated, reach out to one person this week. Send a message to an old friend. Join a class, club, or volunteer opportunity where you will see people regularly. Attend a religious service or community gathering. Connection does not have to be time-intensive. Regular, meaningful contact is what matters. For cognitive engagement, pick something you have been curious about and commit to learning it. This might be a language, an instrument, a craft, or an intellectual topic. Dedicate time to it regularly. The challenge and novelty are what provide the cognitive benefit. As you build these habits, remember that the goal is sustainable, long-term change. A month of intense effort followed by months of inactivity will not protect your brain. But consistent, modest effort over years and decades absolutely will. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Let me share why this matters so personally. Brain health is not an abstract concept. It is about maintaining the ability to think clearly, remember what matters, make good decisions, and stay engaged with the people and activities you love. It is about independence. It is about quality of life. It is about being present with your grandchildren, enjoying conversations with friends, pursuing interests and hobbies, and continuing to contribute meaningfully to your life and community. The stakes are high, but the good news is that you have real power to influence your brain health. The research is clear, and it is encouraging. People who maintain physically active lifestyles, eat nutritious diets, prioritize quality sleep, stay cognitively engaged, maintain strong social connections, and manage their cardiovascular health and stress levels have significantly lower rates of cognitive decline and dementia. These habits do not guarantee that you will never experience cognitive changes, but they stack the odds in your favor. They give you the best chance of aging with a healthy, sharp brain. One more important point. If you are concerned about memory or cognitive changes, do not wait and hope they go away. Talk to your doctor. Cognitive testing can identify subtle changes early, when intervention is most effective. If you are diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, implementing these habits becomes even more important. Early action matters. To summarize, the daily habits linked to lower dementia risk are regular aerobic exercise, strength training, a nutritious diet emphasizing vegetables, fruits, whole grains, legumes, fish, and healthy fats, quality sleep of 7 to 9 hours nightly, cognitive engagement and lifelong learning, strong social connections and meaningful relationships, management of cardiovascular health, and effective stress management and emotional health. None of these habits require a prescription or expensive equipment. All of them are within your reach. All of them produce benefits not just for your brain, but for your overall health and well-being. And all of them can be implemented gradually, one step at a time, at your own pace. The future of your brain health is not determined by chance or genetics alone. It is shaped by the choices you make every single day. The wonderful part is that those choices are yours to make. You have agency. You have power. Every walk you take, every healthy meal you eat, every night of good sleep, every conversation with a friend, every time you challenge your mind with something new, these are investments in your brain health. They add up. They matter. And they start now. Thank you for watching Your Digital Doctor. If this video has been helpful, please subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based health education. We release new videos regularly covering topics that matter to your health and longevity. If you have questions or topics you would like us to explore, please let us know in the comments below. I would also love to hear about the habits you are implementing to support your brain health. Sharing your experience in the comments not only helps you, but inspires others in our community. Thank you for prioritizing your health and well-being. Until next time, take care of yourself.